Welcome back to our Blue Z Water channel, everybody. I have Chris back on. He's been in California working as a new baby, been working really hard. So we're trying to get together and do some videos together and thinking of doing maybe a webinar or a podcast where we can get some people on and ask questions. But today we're going to continue on the overview chart that I created so people can kind of see what, in the bigger picture, what works for what. So how you doing, Chris?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing? Nice to be back on a video here. I'm excited to get into it. I think this will be a good one to show people what's going on and how we can help them out.
By the way, Chris has a new baby, and you know, I always think bringing new human beings into this world with all the challenges, you know, I think it's good for parents to learn about things to look out for, what to do. It's, you know, you come in with hope and you want the best for your child, but there's a lot of challenges in today's world that is affecting, you know, not just the parents, but children are even more susceptible. So some of the things we're going to cover today would apply directly to a child. So it's just, you know, it's challenging for everybody. So let's get back into this chart. So just real quick, once again, we've talked a lot, Chris, about the subconscious. We have our trauma release program. I mean, I always go back and forth as to where to put your efforts, and the subconscious is kind of, just think of it as the sins of the fathers, and right now there is a pretty big aggregation of the sins of the fathers, which is reflecting in this sort of cynical technology we have that is very harmful to people. We're a, you know, money-driven, technologically driven culture, and a lot of these technologies just run over people. So we really can't separate the consciousness issue from the environment. And there's a lot of people who are suffering nowadays. I see this a lot, people talking about suffering on many levels with their brain, the nervous system, because the environment's become just overwhelming. So a lot of what we're talking about is being able to rectify not only within yourself the patterns that led up to all this, but outwardly protect yourself from these technologies that are creating great harm to the body and the mind. Anything you want to add on in that regard, Chris? I mean, you probably see it at your work a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean every day, it's just everywhere, you know. So it's it really is the key though to really diving into that subconscious to heal from within, where the deepest, darkest things are. So I think that is the end all be all, but some of these great tools that we're about to show and talk about also can help with that. So I think it's you know, it's something you got to work at every day.
So we're going to cover a few things. We're going to cover something I call the homeopathic protocol. It's actually developed by a doctor who's in California. It's called the Lubecki protocol, and it's homeopathically based. We're going to talk about molecular hydrogen therapy and also some PEMF therapy. And I just want to, you know, in terms of what we're just discussing, Dr. Lubecki always talks about that if there's no break in the energy flow of the body, that one would be healthy. But this goes down deep into the subconscious. So if something's really weighing deeply in your mind, it is going to affect the energy flow. This is Chinese medicine in essence, that the deeper levels of the mind cause blockage of energy. So this protocol, I just want to go over it quickly, starts to kind of, well, first of all, this is different than non-traditional homeopathy because essentially it reads your own body's field, makes a remedy of yourself, your field in real time, and then sends it back to the body. So this is a unique approach. It's kind of like real-time homeopathy as opposed to an external remedy that's made based on symptoms that a client describes. So this does, in my, I've been doing this for a while, and I feel like this does tap the body's, deeper levels of intelligence. There's a lot of levels of memory. We've discussed the Ho'oponopono a lot, which says we're replaying memories that go way, way back from our ancestors. So if essentially your mind is carrying all these programs, how do you get in there and start to awaken yourself and transmute and clean programs that could be literally running for thousands of years?
So I know when we're talking about blockage too, and I know you mentioned the Lubecki stuff. So what does that process look like for the blockage of energy and stuff, and how does he come with that approach differently than some of the rapid release and vibration that we've talked about?
Well, it's interesting. His approach is mainly towards disease. He doesn't talk about emotions. And he says if the energy flows, you're healthy. So his process is that the body, the pathogens, all the stuff you're carrying and that's in the body, when you do this protocol, you're neutralizing all these toxins. So I've talked to him about the mental emotional side. So he doesn't really get into that, which is interesting because homeopathy has a lot of that in what's called the keynotes. Every time you look at a remedy, there's always descriptions of the mental emotional state. And in the homeopathic miasms, they're actually energetic, very, very dramatic states that you have inherited from your ancestors, usually based on diseases. So that's just not the way he describes it. He just sees this process as neutralizing heavy metals, chemicals, radiation. Now, either way, if the body, the way I look at it, if the body's feeding it the information back to itself for the treatment, in my belief, it's actually feeding the deeper subconscious programs that are the root of, really the number one root of disease. But that's not what he states. But that's why I actually bought it. When I saw this, I said, the body knows its own deeper states of subconscious blockage. It's more aware of its own states than you can consciously be aware of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a field therapy. Now, if you take your own field and you amplify it homeopathically, it's like kicking your body into an awareness, basically. A lot of these, what makes something subconscious, by definition, is that it's underground, it's working on you, it's stuck, it's doing harm, but you're not even aware of it, number one. What makes the subconscious challenging is that there is lots of information down there that you're not aware of, but is causing harm. So you want to, A, become aware of it, or B, at least get to an action that is aware of it to clean it. So the Ho'oponopono would say that you are playing so much down there that it's impossible to be consciously aware of what's playing, but on the other hand, you want to get it cleaned. So it's almost like a virus. We talk about this like a virus cleaner. So the Lubecki protocol works at communicating back to the subconscious its own nature. This is my belief, in such a way that it gets triggered to heal. Now, this can cause what's called healing crisis. It's always an issue because when you wake up something that's very, underground, but working on you, but kind of dormant, and it becomes awake, and you realize, you awaken to the issue, it can become painful. So I think that's personally why the Lubecki protocol works. It's getting to the deeper roots of the blocked energy, and he talks about the energy flow. But in his mind, this is just eliminating radiation, herbicides, pesticides, heavy metals, all that stuff is getting energetically neutralized. So anyhow, let's just go through it. It says balances energy. We have these systemic, on the systemic level, it balances the energy flow and disrupts toxins, all toxins. Now, he says it completely eliminates them instantly. And again, I don't want to deal with any of his health claims. He has his own system. This is a piece, for me, once again, for the subconscious, I think it has some effect to affect these toxins in the body. Whether it gets rid of them completely or not, I don't know. We have our Blue Z water, we have other therapies, the ozone. So this is, you know, in terms of pathogens, heavy metals, chemicals, we have a lot of other dimensions. So we don't want you to just rely on this one thing. But
Yeah,
anyhow,
there's a bunch of tools. I mean, I think that's a key thing, you know, when everybody's watching all these different tools that we offer here on this chart, make sure you guys realize it's not one and done. You're not going to find one thing that's going to work for everything. You got to make sure you're using each tool for the right job.
correct. And in other words, I love ozone as an antimicrobial. But if I was looking now to add, I have a video that describes the ozone, the Blue Z Boost, the vibration machine, and essential oils. If you're fighting an infection, I would add this in now to the list. So why not go, you know, with everything, especially if it's been around a long time. But anyhow, the other thing under energetic structural is, well, again, this helps. I still believe it's getting at subconscious programs. And so if it's getting to those, the energy body is going to start to flow better. The more you can tap into the subconscious and let go, better the energy flow on the is going to be. So if you're getting to the root blockages, you're going to have way better health, or the root programs. Okay, so and then in terms of environmental toxins, again, he's stating high marks for, you know, radiation, heavy metals, pesticides, everything. His protocol is designed to disrupt all the toxins. So excellent for environmental toxins. The subconscious programs, again, what I stated, this is, you're sending a mirror of yourself back to yourself. So get ready to look in the mirror. And what's in the mirror are a lot of deep programs that come from, you know, you're shocked when you see the programs that are running through you. So high marks for, and then chi stagnation. In other words, once you get to those programs, the just as an example, if you have a program running from an ancestor where there was a tremendous amount of, let's say, grief or anger, that's going to affect the liver meridian for anger and the lung meridian for grief, which can affect your overall health of your lungs, your liver. So this is just physical health as well as the mental states. So by getting into the programs, you're correcting not just the mental, emotional, but the physical corresponding organs. And I mean, you could save yourself from, you could reverse, if you really get deep into this, you could help reverse very deep diseases maybe you had from birth, let's say asthma or something like that. Okay, so detoxification, again, he claims this neutralizes all toxins, so gets high marks for that. So follow the link to this. Again, I want to be very clear. I do not say do this and, you know, it'll just knock out any disease you have. He's much more emphatic in his claims. He has a lot of amazing testimonials. But this is a piece. This is, to me, the reason don't mean to be redundant, and the reason I got this is it's dealing with the deeper multi-layered dynamics of the body's energy system, which is what homeopathy does. It's a subtle, sublime energy mirror back to oneself. Any comments, Chris?
No, I think people should go check it out. I mean, when you go to the link and listen to the testimonials, and I mean, this guy's been worldwide. He's done some amazing work. So, I mean, just seeing some of the testimonials and some of the work done myself, it's a pretty awesome protocol, you know, and definitely will change your perspective on, you know, what type of tools you're going to be using to help with it.
Right, but again, I want to make a huge disclaimer. If somebody calls me and they have a heavy-duty disease, I am not going to say, go just do this and everything's going to be hokey-dory. I think this is a very, very good tool, but I'm going to be a little more conservative. But I mean, I totally advocate it, okay? So, I mean, to be responsible, like we said, based on what you're, if you are, for instance, dealing with trauma, we have 12 things in our trauma release program. This is a lot more in-depth work. So we would want you to do those practices. If you're dealing with a disease, let's say you've had 20, 30 years, we want you to do a comprehensive program. Because he gets people that succeed dramatically and miraculously. He also gets people that fail. So it's work. Alrighty, so now radiation is a huge piece. So when part of this protocol is the ability to antidote the effects of radiation. That's what they call non-iodizing, but is extremely disruptive to the energy body. He talks a lot about radiation and how it's causing all kinds of increase in cancer. So dealing with the environment is huge. Dealing with radiation, that's the cell phone towers, all that stuff, is critical for all healing protocols. So this is one piece, because you have a homeopathic radiation remedy you use to antidote the radiation. For those of you that don't know about homeopathy, Google it, look it up. For those of you that do, you can understand how this is kind of a hybrid of normal homeopathy. Okay, so very, very important for the environment and also neutralize the metals and chemicals. But again, Blue Z water works on the same thing. It works on radiation, it works on metals, it works on chemicals. You want to drink a ton of that. Hydrogen therapy is the next thing we're going to talk about. Amazing on radiation. It is a profound antioxidant, free radical damage, oxidative stress molecule, hydrogen. Hydrogen, when you infuse it and breathe it, will immediately go to work on the damage that comes from radiation exposure. Brief story, the military developed a product many years ago. They spent $25 million, and its purpose was to antidote DNA damage from radiation exposure in the field. This hydrogen therapy is far, far superior to that antioxidant micronutrient. And so it's just an imperative for the environment that one look into this therapy. We have this links to an interview. So please click on the link here and follow it and watch the interview. So
now, how does that hydrogen therapy look? What are you doing when you talk about it? What are you actually doing?
You're breathing it. It's a machine that puts out hydrogen, oxygen, and what's called electrically expanded water, the gaseous water. Our Blue Z water, by the way, is 4th stage water, and this is also a version of 4th stage water. So when you breathe it, it has those 3 gases. Now you can also drink, after you breathe it, you drink the water, and that's really good on the colon. Now some people just drink hydrogen water. I've done that. The breathing is a whole nother level. You infuse a tremendous amount of hydrogen into the body. The miracle of the hydrogen breathing is that the hydrogen molecule itself is so small that it'll pass through steel. So if you have a damaged cell, it will get in there regardless of how much blockage and inflammation and damage there is to the cell. The hydrogen will get in and start to repair it. And again, all that inflammation is just compounding the problem. So when you breathe the hydrogen, even if you're very compromised, it'll start to work. It's going to take time, but it'll work. And I've been
now, how much does something like that cost if somebody wants to start a hydrogen therapy at home?
$2,500 minus. There's a code you use, Andrew, that gets you 10% off, and it's $2,250. And by the way, you have 1 year to try it unconditionally. That's how much.
Sounds nice. So can people get it through you? Are you?
Yeah. When they watch this video, there's a link below. You click on the link, you enter the code, you get the discount, you buy it. You have a year, again, 1 year unconditional. Send it back. This therapy, once you start doing it, you're not sending it back, but you have that. So people who are skeptical, you have that, you can try it whatever, 6 months. You can use it for free for 11 months and send it back.
That's pretty awesome.
So hydrogen, because it can go through and permeate beyond all the resistance and all the cellular damage, we call it the primary cellular food. The body is 66%, or roughly 2/3, hydrogen by volume, or 62. But we're made up of mostly hydrogen. So it's huge on inflammation, and it's huge on helping the body to essentially start to create self-repair. Now, just to jump into PMF therapy, as you feed the cells the hydrogen, PMF can micro pump every cell. So you have the primary food, and then you have the primary pump. Now, vibration therapy works outside in, so it's not necessarily going to, if you're trying to get deep into the brain somewhere, the PMF will go through, right through you, and get to every cell. By the time that outside vibration is happening on a vibration machine, it might not be getting effectively deep into the center of the brain or the center of the colon or whatever. Also,
so that's a good combination for macro and micro.
Right. So the vibration machine is amazing for trauma. It's great for all those outer layers of fascia, better probably than the PMF. So if you have a lot of fascia buildup, you want this therapy. But if you have a lot of cellular damage, you want to get the microcellular pump of the PMF and the microcellular food of the hydrogen. Very simple concept, actually. In both cases, it's the miracle of the new science that allows you to access a cell that's pretty much done for. Because now you can wake up the cell, pump it, and you can feed it. Okay, and then under energetic structural, we have permeates everywhere in the body, including RNA and DNA, total cellular repair. Now, structural includes, injury. My wife had a sciatic problem, and she doesn't like I work very deeply. It's kind of more like working on an athlete, almost like a rehab. It's a little bit painful, but the results come through if you can deal with it. Anyhow, so since she wanted gentler work, I thought, well, maybe the hydrogen, would take some time, and I was right. It took time, but she had a very severe pain down her leg, and 3 months' time, it went away. Because the hydrogen literally permeated every cell in her body, including those nerve cells in the sciatic region, and stopped the inflammation and started healing that tissue. It'll heal, it'll bring old tissue to new tissue. In the interview, George talks about all these skin problems, neuropathies totally disappearing in his body using the hydrogen therapy, including a heart murmur. And I've had some skin stuff go away. I mean, I was doing a lot of Blue Z water, so that has a lot of hydration effect, and doing ozone therapy. I didn't come to this therapy, empty-handed. I had a lot of things going on, but I had an eye problem. My eyes were definitely getting kind of affected, and the hydrogen therapy healed my eyes in about 3 weeks' time. So when you're old, this is almost like life support, because you're not going to get, unless there's a numerical breakthrough that hydrates your whole body. Old people, look at them. We don't look like the freshest skin. So the internal skin starts to dry up, the fire, the inflammation, all that is just, just starts, you start to literally dry up and become more brittle. So the hydrogen is great for sports, for athletes. After sports, you breathe this. It's going to quell the inflammation. Do it a lot. The next day, you're going to feel a lot less inflammation than under normal circumstances. Okay, and then the PMF, you can, again, the micro pump, these sort of go hand in hand. So, if you're got an injury, you can also apply, let's say, the hydrogen topically. Let's say you have a tennis elbow. You could apply the hydrogen topically to the elbow, and then take the PMF intensive treatment pillow, put it right under your elbow, and literally you'll have a rapid increase in the healing of that injury, because your hydrogen will go straight directly into that pain center, and then the PMF will pump the cells. So really common sense if you strip it down. You know what I'm saying, Chris?
Yeah, totally. I mean, each one has its own spot. You know, one feeds it, one pumps it, and one gets it even deeper into the body.
Right, but we don't think, oh, if I just feed every cell and pump it, guess what? It'll heal a lot quicker. We don't conceive of it because, number one, the technology's never existed up until recently. So to conceive that simply and childlike, I mean, we could conceive that if we had a really dirty piece of clothing, we might want to rub it, spot clean it, do certain things to accelerate the healing of that fabric. That's easy. And you have to think that simply with the body. I mean, we're not taught to think that simply. Now the tools exist to literally pump every cell and to feed every cell. So this is think. You know, I don't know. We need a slogan. What would the slogan be? Pump and feed.
Right? Yeah, pump and feed and repeat.
Microcellular healing. Think, put that in your subconscious, people. I can now heal at a microcellular level. What does that mean? Before, everything would try to come in from the outside and get in there, but the cell was like, I can't take it. I'm blocked. You're not getting in here. Now you can get past that resistance and go to the microcellular level. That means down to the RNA and DNA and literally permeate down to the very core of your being. That's also the bones. Okay, so in terms of the hydrogen and environmental toxins, it doesn't remove heavy metals and chemicals. That's not its main forte, but it'll build your immune system. By the way, Lebecky also just mentioned, you do that and the hydrogen, you're working at two protocols. One, getting the energy flow going, help to neutralize all these toxins. The other is by infusing all the cells with the hydrogen, the immune system starts to build back up.
Yeah, it's almost like building a shield, you know, while the other things we have to offer can help get rid of all those toxins, but this helps to keep it from coming back.
Right, when the cells of, when your endocrine gland cells start to get compromised, your thyroid, your adrenals, this affects your immunity, the nervous system. I mean, and there's a lot of stuff coming at the nervous system, the endocrine gland system on a daily basis. Okay, so once again, you got the concept, PMF. Let's say your adrenal system is shot. You would want to put the PMF pillow on your kidney area, pump the adrenals, do the hydrogen. Makes me want to get off this right now and go do it. All right, so the molecular hydrogen therapy for subconscious programs. Okay, so, well, number one, hydrogen is the primary element in the universe. So trying to, metaphorically, if let's say sunshine is really good for your spirit, or the earth's frequency, Schumann, is really good for your spirit, then where would hydrogen fit in as this sort of primary element? Obviously, if it's so foundational to the body, you would have to say it has, you know, anything that heals the body that dramatically, you might as well call spiritual, or has the ability to help you transmute whatever the problem is. Let's say it's a very powerful building block. Okay, and I mean, any other comments on that you would want to make?
No, I think, I mean, it is one of the primary building blocks for sure. I mean, everything we do, breathe, you know, and are made of comes with that. So, I mean, I've noticed when you do the hydrogen therapy how much better you are. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things. It's a first step. It's also a preventative measure, and then it kind of ties in with the other things that we offer, you know, to help really get rid of everything and feel better.
Now, I also want to say, ironically, since I've been doing the hydrogen and doing Lebecky, it is opening up deeper doors into my subconscious. In other words, I'm becoming more aware. You might say I'm going deeper into the core puzzle of the mind. So although that's sort of a little painful on one level, it's opening up more awareness. Now, hydrogen has been around since every suffering and trauma has ever existed. So again, if it's a healing element and that profound, it's almost, is there a knowledge in hydrogen, you might say, or a knowingness that can meet any condition, any state, and create a transmutive piece. George says something that's very interesting, that hydrogen, if it doesn't attach to anything, it just goes back to nothing, just disappears. So you could say it's an element that comes from quantum nothingness and comes into reality, does a job, and then can disappear. So it's got some pretty metaphysical, spiritual aspects to it. Okay, so, and then the PEMF, in terms of subconscious chi stagnation. Okay, this is really important. Creates alpha, theta, and delta brainwave entrainment. So you can set the PEMF. I do this in the morning. I set it to the Schumann response, and I do meditation with it. So this is the alpha and the theta states and the delta states are all sort of meditation states of frequency. And then you can process at a lot deeper level. So anybody who meditates understands this. This is a way to assist you to get into that frequency and brainwave activity. Now, for sleep, you want to get down to delta. So when you set the PEMF down to delta, it can kind of entrain your brain down into that sleep frequency if you're having trouble sleeping. Also, just the fact that, again, if the programs and the memories are stored at a cellular level, if you're micro pumping all the cells, you're going to be getting deeper into the cellular programming. Any questions on the PEMF on this one, Chris?
No, I think a lot of people have heard of different wavelengths, to help sleep when you download an app of binaural beats or stuff like that, So I think it's a lot more common out there to see these different wavelengths they create, but how they affect the mind. I mean, it's pretty cool. You can Google it and look it up online, but see how much better it is for you.
Right, and yeah, this is totally experiential. I mean, if you go in the ocean and you feel peace, it's the same concept. It's just giving yourself the groove that the body wants. It's unfortunate that we used to take for granted that the Earth frequency was all around us. If we were in the up until what, 150 years ago or so, it was, you're a farmer. I mean, what were the professions? Most people were farmers or connected to the Earth. Okay, so detoxification, molecular hydrogen therapy. Once again, it is in a specific. It's not an antimicrobial, and it's not for heavy metals and chemicals. Again, it builds the immune system. So you wouldn't use this for the knocking things out or pulling out the metals, but you would use it to build the foundation of the immune system so the body could rid itself more effectively. If the immune system is crashed and burned, all this other stuff has minimal effect. So you want to, when you're young, you can handle a lot more of this assault of toxins, and then eventually it catches up because your immune system no longer functions properly. But you don't want your immune system working overtime either and being endlessly exhausted, or your adrenals, or your, anything. So this is going to help build back more resilience, and hopefully you don't, if you're smart, you preemptively down the amount of exposure to stress, to toxins, etc. The PEMF therapy, detoxification, once again, it's the micro pump for the cells, whereas the vibration machine we talk about endlessly is the macro pump. So if you're got, let's say, a deep structural problem with your liver, you would do the vibration machine in rapid release, which is awesome. But then you might also use this on the liver to get, like a fine brush. And look at this as the you're painting a room and you have the roller. You do this and this together, but the little detail work, you get out the PEMF to get into the finer cellular access. All right.
It's like the pinpoint for it. The hydrogen creates the structure, and the PEMF just really dives deep and finds that and attacks it.
Yeah, I mean, basically it's pumping every cell. Again, it's that simple. You're pumping every cell, now you're feeding every cell. Do you see health issues in your age group?
Oh yeah, there's tremendous amounts. I mean, even the younger generations, I think it's just getting worse and worse in reality, um, or just more aware. So it's rough. It really is.
And how many people have any framing whatsoever of what to do?
Well, that's just it. Nobody really knows these type of protocols and holistic healing. They're so brainwashed by the medical Western medicine of, take this, forget it, you have this, instead of really diving deep into it and finding a holistic approach that can be so much more beneficial.
So what are some of the people you know, without naming names, what are some of the conditions they have?
Well, just a diagnosis of several diseases or, issues that relate to health, eating, toxins, you know, um, weird autoimmune things. So, I mean, there's just so many problems that if I look at it, it could be caused by so many other things, not just this simple answer. And they're searching for help, but they really aren't getting the proper help I think they need to get back to ground zero here and really find that inner peace.
Well, I mean, yeah, you really are seeing people like what? Thyroid disorders. I mean, how many people do you, let's say, could you think of 10 people you know?
I mean, if I really thought about it, yeah, for sure, I could do 10. I mean, I meet so many people on a daily basis, but just people offhand, I mean, it's almost like every other person you meet, you start talking to them and you find out what type of ailments or things they're going through, and fortunately, a lot of these protocols we give out to people are easily and readily available, and they can help them tremendously. They don't even know about it. They don't even think about it, and it's crazy to think like that.
Okay, so we've gone over the Lubecki, the PMF, and the hydrogen therapy. Once again, they're very, very critical in environmental issues, so it's a really good combination. We covered all the different aspects, so take a look at the chart, go through the therapies, and if you have any questions, please contact me, Andrew, at blueseawater.com. Chris, any comments?
Yeah. No, I think we covered them both greatly, and I think it really does come down to it that the hydrogen's the building block, the PMF and Lubecki's homeopathy is definitely the ones to get rid of the toxins. So that each one has its own process and its own place. So make sure you guys are diving in and building your own at-home protocol with all these tools that we have to offer, because each one does so much, and it's all about choosing the right tool for the right job.
Right, and keep referring to the chart. It'll help kind of see where the priorities are. And if you think of this as building your own private little home clinic, that's really what we're trying to help people do, is build their own personal home clinic. And these are what we would say are the essential tools. There's some additional ones, but these are really the key ones.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, we're giving everybody the tools so they can have an at-home kind of holistic gym. So, I mean, it's up to you guys to take it and run. But like Andrew said, you got any questions? You need some help getting all these things figured out, or have some deeper issues? We're going to try to have a webinar soon, with some of these videos so people can ask live questions. Also, email Andrew at blueseawater.com. That way we can get you taken care of. And check out our website for additional blogs and videos as well.
All right, appreciate you getting on. Good to have you back.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. Hope everybody can get out there and check it out.